If you already saw us break down the only running backs we're comfortable taking in the early rounds, you're probably wondering, what about wide receiver? Well, here we go. Let's go through the ADP for ESPN, Yahoo, and Sleeper and talk about the receivers we're comfortable drafting in the first 4 rounds.
If you can't wait to start drafting fantasy football teams, you don't have to. Underdog Fantasy has drafts going on all offseason with tons of unique and fun formats. Not to mention their flagship Best Ball Mania 5, where one lucky winner will become a millionaire. Plus, they already have pick'em lines ready for week 1 of the NFL season and their new streak format where you can win 1,000 times your entry. Just go to UnderdogFantasy.com and sign up using promo code ENDGAME to get a special pick'em that you can't get anywhere else, plus up to $250 in bonus cash.
All right, in round 1, both ESPN and Yahoo have the same 6 receivers being drafted on average. That would be CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Justin Jefferson, and A.J. Brown. So, Chris, are you comfortable with any or all of those receivers as your first pick?
I am, except A.J. Brown. Now I'll say, I'm not completely off of A.J. Brown. I do worry that A.J. Brown, he's now crept into the top 10 on these sites. I worry that that's getting a little too high here, but at the same time, I understand how good A.J. Brown is. I understand the upside with A.J. Brown. So if you really want to go wide receiver in the first round, I'm fine with A.J. Brown. The other 5 guys, totally fine with them, no problem at all. A.J. Brown is okay.
Yeah, I think all these guys definitely deserve to be first round picks, but like you mentioned, A.J. Brown should definitely be the end of the first round. I mean, you think about it, there's only 3 running backs I feel are first round worthy. I'm definitely not taking a quarterback or tight end in round 1. And so that leaves room for a couple of more wide receivers who are getting drafted in round 1 on Sleeper. So you have those 6 plus Puka Nacua and Garrett Wilson. Do you still feel like those guys are first rounders too?
I do. Now, I will say, got to be a little watchful with Puka Nacua. He did just suffer a knee injury the other day, and they're calling him week to week. But as long as he's back at some point here fairly soon and looks healthy, then yes, I'm totally fine with Puka Nacua in the first round. Totally fine with Garrett Wilson in the first round as well.
Yeah, assuming Puka's fine for week 1, he's still a first round pick. And then Garrett Wilson, I'm all over. He's a guy that, look, if I do draft late in round 1, pick 10 through 12, I'm happy to get Garrett Wilson. All right, now in round 2, things are a little mixed up between the sites. Let's start with ESPN. Their round 2 ADP has Puka Nacua, Garrett Wilson, Davante Adams, and Chris Olave. How do you feel about all those players?
Well, obviously, if I'm going to take Puka and Garrett Wilson in the first round, I'm going to gladly take him in the second round, so that goes without saying. I also love Chris Olave this year in the second round. No problem with that at all. The one guy I'm not taking in the second round is Davante Adams, although I will say we've been watching that receiver show on Netflix, and it's making me kind of want to take Davante Adams, but I still worry that Davante Adams will be fine this year, but not second round good enough. So fine with the other 3, not with Adams.
I like all of these players in round 2. I know I'm a little higher on Adams than you are. Again, I'll just put the caveat here. I'd rather have him toward the end of round 2, but I feel like once you get to round 3 or later, that's too late for a guy like him. He's pretty much quarterback proof, isn't he? Now, Yahoo just has one shakeup here in round 2. Got Garrett Wilson, Puka Nacua, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Davante Adams. Does the rookie make the cut for you?
He does. He makes a cut. I think this guy can be great in year 1. He's got Kyler Murray. They're in a good offense. Not a lot of competition for targets here. Definitely fine with Marvin Harrison in round 2.
I am too. And as we'll see in a second, there's a lot of times more receivers who get drafted this early, especially if you're on Sleeper or if you're in the leagues we compete in. Yeah, I'm fine with all of these players in round 2. And on Sleeper, got a few more. We got Marvin Harrison Jr., Davante Adams, Drake London, Chris Olave, and Brandon Ayuk, who for right now is still a 49er.
Yeah, so we've talked about some of these guys already, so let's talk about Ayuk and Drake London. Definitely fine with Drake London in the second round. I'm a little nervous for him, but at the same time, the potential is so high for Drake London this year. I'll gamble on him in the second round. And if Brandon Ayuk is a 49er, I will take him in the second round. I'm starting to get a little nervous for the first time, though, that he might not be. So if I was drafting right now, today, I might not take Brandon Ayuk in round 2.
Yeah, San Francisco wide receiver room's so hard to read, but let's just say I'm still fine with all of these players as second round picks. Some people are starting to sound the alarm on Drake London. He's going to be a bust. People are, going to reach on him. he's still the receiver I like the best of this bunch.
Do you want to win your fantasy league but don't have time to do all the research? Are you tired of drafting mediocre teams and then having to constantly hope you hit it big on the waiver wire just to compete? Do you wish you could have a fantasy expert like Pierre or myself with you while you draft? Well, now you can. With our app Draft Lane and our live draft pilot, we will guide you through every pick of your draft and tell you exactly which players we would pick if we were on the clock. Our proprietary algorithm will take into account your league settings, scoring, and roster requirements to identify the best picks every time you are on the clock to ensure you have a winning team from week one. It's the closest thing you can get to having us there drafting with you. Get the biggest edge in fantasy football. Just go to your app store and search for Draft Lane and download it today and get ready to dominate your draft.
All right, on to round 3 in ESPN leagues. Now we see Marvin Harrison Jr. along with Drake London, Michael Pittman, Mike Evans, and Stephon Diggs. What do you think about these new names?
So Harrison, obviously fine, and Drake London, we've already talked about them. If I'm going to take him in the second, I'll gladly take him in the third. Definitely like Michael Pittman here, grabbing him, especially if you're in any sort of a PPR league. Michael Pittman in the third is great, as is Mike Evans. Look, Mike Evans might not be as good as he was last year, but he'll still be good. Stephon Diggs, no thank you. Third round, Stephon Diggs competing with Nico Collins and Tank Dell, easy pass for me.
Yeah. The name that sticks out to me is Stephon Diggs for sure. Look, to me and to you too, I know he just doesn't belong this early. In fact, I would swap him with Nico. I'm okay with Nico Collins in round 3, but Stephon Diggs is just not the same player, and there's too many mouths to be there. Sorry. I'll take the others before Diggs. Yahoo's round 3 has these receivers: Mike Evans, Chris Olave, Brandon Ayuk, Drake London, Deebo Samuel, and then Nico Collins. What do you think about Deebo here?
I'll take Deebo in the third round with or without Brandon Ayuk. Obviously, if Brandon Ayuk gets traded, Deebo might go up to second round, but I'll still take him in the third round. I think he's got the kind of upside you're looking for in round 3. And I also like Nico in this round. I'm a little nervous about Nico, but I think if you can get him in round 3, I'm fine with him here as well.
It's interesting if you have the choice here, which apparently you do in Yahoo leagues between Ayuk and Deebo. What exactly is the tiebreaker? How do you choose? I don't think Deebo's getting those rushing yards and attempts and goal line looks anymore. But what if Ayuk does get traded? I'm not going to speculate and guess. I'd rather save those guys for last. I'm still fine with Nico, London, Olave. I would love to get those guys in round 3. And sleeper, things are a little bit mixed up here. Got some new names as well: Mike Evans, Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Deebo Samuel, DJ Moore, and Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, so we've talked about the others, so I'll say again, DJ Moore, I'm a little nervous that we're not going to see him be as good as he was last year with, Romo Dunze and Keenan Allen now there, but I still am fine with him in round 3. And Jalen Waddle, round 3, this feels like stealing. Like, give me Jalen Waddle in round 3 all day.
I still remember way back early in the preseason, we were doing mocks and underdog drafts, and I was happy to get DJ Moore in the beginning of round 2. And then they got Keenan Allen, and then they drafted Romo Dunze. But look, even despite that, I think round 3 is fair. He's going to be their number 1 target. We've got a rookie and an oft-injured veteran. I'm still fine with DJ Moore here, but Jalen Waddle is probably my favorite pick out of all of these. Time for the 4th round. On ESPN leagues, you got Nico Collins, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and DK Metcalf. Does DK belong in round 4?
Yeah, he probably belongs in round 3, to be honest. I mean, this is ridiculous. Like, we're talking about Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Nico Collins, guys that have gone round 2, round 3 on other sites, and you're getting them in round 4, and DK Metcalf. Yeah, I'll draft any of these guys.
Any of them, and I'm actually surprised that on none of these platforms DK Metcalf makes it to round 3. I've come around on him. At first I was more of a JSN guy. DK, I feel like he was fine in round 4, but you know what? I'm now aggressively targeting him if he falls at this point. On Yahoo, a lot of the same players, plus one interesting new/old one: DK Metcalf, Michael Pittman, DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, and Cooper Kupp. Are you comfortable with Kupp in round 4 on Yahoo leagues?
Yeah, let me first say I just said that Jalen Waddle in round 3 was stealing. I take it back. Jalen Waddle in round 4 is ridiculous. Like, if Jalen Waddle is there in round 4, don't even think about it. Just draft him. But as far as Cooper Kupp goes, I think round 4 is where I feel okay with Cooper Kupp. I don't think Cooper Kupp is going to be anything close to what we've seen in the past. If you got to draft him in round 3, which apparently on none of these sites you do, then I think that's too high. But I think if I can get Cooper Kupp towards the end of round 4, I'm okay with it.
Well, again, I'm happy, very happy with all these guys. I think all of these receivers belong in round three, to be honest, except Cooper Cup. And even in round four, I'm just not doing it. Look, I just say a lot of people feel like this is where he should go, but I don't think it's really where he belongs because I don't see him as a top 20 receiver in fantasy this year. I just don't. And in sleeper leagues, a little bit different here. We got Michael Pittman, Cooper Cup, DK Metcalf, but also Devontae Smith and the rookie Malik Neighbors. What do you think of those players?
Well, Devonta Smith, I just said Jalen Waddle stealing in the fourth. I mean, Devonta Smith also stealing in the fourth all day long with Devonta Smith in the fourth round. Neighbors is tough. I still feel like it might be a little too early for me. And look, it's nothing against Malik Neighbors. I haven't said one bad thing all offseason about Malik Neighbors. It's Daniel Jones. Do I really want a wide receiver catching passes from Daniel Jones? Do I want to deal with this frustration, this headache? I mean, there are still high upside good players on the board here. I don't feel like I need to take Neighbors quite this early.
You don't. I won't. Look, if you don't know how we feel about Malik Neighbors, by this point, you haven't been watching our videos all off season. Devontae Smith, though, I feel is still so undervalued. This might be his best season yet, especially under new offensive coordinator Kellen Moore. They're moving him around more. I think he's a steal here. As I already mentioned, we did this for running backs. We went through the first four rounds on each of these major platforms to tell you which running backs we're drafting and which ones we're not. If you didn't catch that video already, it's right here.